Good evening, everybody. We're going to begin our meeting tonight, so if you will stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I know, sorry, I left my mic on. Thank you. Roll call tonight. Chair Brumble is absent tonight, so there's the 4 board members that are in attendance to establish a quorum. And then 1.3, the agenda additions, deletions, or revisions, and agenda approval. Please note that we do have the revised minutes for the December board meeting. Do we have any additions or revisions?
Madam Chair, why have we moved public comments to the bottom of the agenda?
That is a great question. I do not know that answer. Can somebody else?
I'm sorry, the question was why have we moved public comments to the bottom of the agenda? Madam Chairman, I would move to approve the agenda as revised with a further revision that we move the public comments back to between item 2 and item 3. Second.
Okay, all in favor of making the revision of moving public comments from 8.0 back to 2.0. Is that correct, Scott?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Or 2.1, excuse me.
However you want to number it.
Huh?
However you want to number it.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 I can't hear you.
Okay, all opposed? Okay, please make note. Thank you. And now we move to 1.4 for the special acknowledgments of the school presentation from Mrs. Bonner.
Welcome to Crooked River. We are so glad you're here. To say that I am immensely proud of our students this year is an understatement. We are having a phenomenal year at Crooked River, and we are so glad you're here. We have a couple different presentations that we want to share with you. The first one highlights our after-school clubs, and the after-school club that we're highlighting specifically today is our guitar club. This has become so popular that the second round of Guitar Club, we had to take students off of the waiting list. But the students you see in front of you over here were part of our fall Guitar Club. Many of them were part of Guitar Club after school last year, and they have been working extra. They have been coming in after school as an extra club just to prepare for you guys. So please sit back and watch them. And if you can't see from where you're sitting, would you please stand so you can see them? This is gonna make your probably month. So turn it over to our guitar club.
Hi, my name is Talia Pascuzzi. I teach 2nd grade here at Crooked River.
I'm Whitney Carmack, and I teach math at Crooked River.
We hope you enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Ronnie, and this is Guitar Club. Hi, I'm Layla, and I'm left-handed in guitar, and there are 6 strings in a guitar.
So we have 2 lefties here tonight, and the rest of us are playing right-handed.
I can't read.
Oh, that's it.
Hi, I'm Cash, and here's some awesome kids playing guitar today.
Ready to rock? Hi, I'm Anne Marie, and this is Elliot and Layla, and we're going to be playing Smoke on the Water.
All right, give them 2 big claps. All right, flip.
I'm Ronnie, and this is Seven Nation Army.
All right, give her 2 big claps. Flip.
Come closer, mister.
I apologize for the size of the microphone cord.
Hi, I'm Cash, and I'm playing I Love Rock and Roll.
All right, give them 2 big claps.
Hi, my name is Quincy, and this is the blues line.
All right, give her 2 big claps. We're definitely gonna have to switch on over.
Hi, I'm Kylie, and I'm gonna play Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd.
All right, give her 2 big claps.
Hi, my name is Jackson, and I'm going to be playing The Sound of Silence.
All right, give her 2 big claps. Give us just 1 second. We have a guitar club song. Every good band has rhythm guitar and lead guitar, so we're gonna try to play it in 2 parts. Are you ready for this? All right, I got me. 3, 2, 1, go.
becoming a lifelong skill for these kids. Every single one of these students brought their own guitar tonight. Mrs. Pascuzzi wrote a grant, so she has enough guitars in her classroom for every single student, but this is an after-school club. They use those student guitars, but every single one of these students now has their own, and it's becoming, like I said, a lifelong skill. So immensely proud. Let's give them one more big round of applause.
Ms. Bonner, can I address some comments to these students? You guys did great. That was wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I was having something going on over here I've never seen before while you did that. Dr. Yeka was tapping his foot. This man never unwinds. You unwound the superintendent. Good job.
Any other questions or comments before we move on to our next presentation?
I just want to say thank you guys so much. That was amazing. You guys have done a wonderful job. So thank you for coming and playing for us tonight.
You guys did a great job. Thank you so much.
And every single one of these students is as awesome in the classroom, in the hallway, every place you'd see them. So awesome job, so proud of you guys. Several of them have basketball practice, so they're gonna sneak out the back because they're busy kids. I'm gonna invite Sarah Schinkel now to come join me because we have another presentation. So this year, you know, we have a new vice principal. His name is John Lindsay. He is not feeling well today, so he was not able to join. But John and Sarah have taken it upon themselves to breathe new life into fifth grade leadership. And it has absolutely transformed our building. We have about 20 mini teachers running around our building. And so I'm going to turn it over to Sarah for a presentation about our fifth grade leadership.
Okay, we started our fifth grade leadership program back up this year. It's been a few years since we had it. Can you hear me? Sorry, there's a presentation that they're gonna go through. I'll go next.
I think just give him a thumbs up.
Okay. Okay, so the opportunities that we came up with were our fifth graders reading with first and second grade students, conflict managers at lunch recess, assembly setup, so they help the adults set up for the assembly. Sorry, the conflict managers at recess, they go out on every lunch recess and they're kind of just a little bit of a mini IA, so they give out Band-Aids or passes or help with conflicts that are small problems, like if they were fighting over a ball, then they would help the little kids, kind of things like that.
Is it K1 or just K?
K through 3. And then the other jobs are grounds crew, and they kind of help make sure our building is looking festive and make sure that they, have all of the things that they need up in the building and clean. And they also help me with different projects, like posters and things like that.
We went around with staplers today to make sure that the bulletin boards were fresh and clean for you guys.
Our morning greeters are the kids on Mondays and Fridays. They greet all of our kids in the mornings. And they made posters and they give them high fives or hugs or things like that, depending on if they know them. Now it does. Okay. And then the recess equipment managers, they take inventory of all of our recess equipment. They air up our recess equipment balls. They make sure that we have enough. If they're over the fence, then I go out there with them and make sure that they grab them and get them back. And then our library assistants actually tape together books and make sure that the books are all back on the shelves like they're supposed to be, things like that. The way that we did this was we talked to the fifth graders, we gave them an application. They had to fill out the application with their parents, and they applied for 2 of the opportunities and jobs. After they turned in their application, they then had to interview with me, John, or Josh Schroeder, our counselor, and we just asked them, you know, what does leadership mean to you? Why would you be, or why do you want this job? And they also had to have a signature from a teacher. So we also asked them, you know, why would your teacher give you this signature and why are you fit for this job? Once we interviewed everybody, we picked the top 30 kids for right now. Halfway through the year, we'll do the exact same process and we'll have another 30 kids. So we're serving more than half of our fifth graders. And then once we gave them their job, we trained them for a day, told them exactly how it is, what time that they had to be there, what their job entailed. And now they have jobs and I manage them from afar. Some of them know exactly when their job is, what time they're there, they're prompt, on time. They know that, especially like our first and second grade reader buddies, they have to be there on Wednesdays at a certain time, and they know that what time they're supposed to be there, and I don't have to go get them from class. They know exactly when to go. So we put together a little video of what their jobs are, what that looks like, and we asked them a few questions for you guys to see.
While we're queuing up that video, I just want to say that earlier this week I was walking down the hallway, and it just warms your heart to see fifth graders lining the hallways, sitting next to a first or second grader, being their reading buddy. It's so effective. The data is showing that it's effective, and it's so phenomenal for these kids to be in that leadership position, and they want to come to school. Like, they need to be here. They have a job. We need them.
Saying good morning, and hopefully we will do the right thing. Good morning, Ray.
So how do you normally greet students? What do you do?
Say hello, how's your day going? You like stuff like that. Say have a great day.
And then you hold up your sign, and then either if you want to give them a knuckle or a high five, and they can pick.
How do you think it makes your fellow students feel when you greet them?
Happy. To make them feel happy when they're going to the classroom.
What do they usually say to you?
Like, good morning. Or they say hi. Or they say nothing. Or they hug us.
One of these though. It's really torn up and colors lost. Our responsibility is we have to collect all the balls so kids can have fun at recess and play.
Okay, what else?
Our responsibilities are to be safe and kind when there's other kids having extra recess. So if we need more of stuff, then we write it down and we give it to a teacher to order or something.
So you're keeping track of how much equipment there is and what's in there?
Make that floor.
I wanted to do this job because I wanted to pump up the ball so other kids can have fun with it.
Oh, no. To the van quit. So they read this page, and I use the timer, and then they have a story on the back that they can also read.
What do you like about it?
I like that they get to get extra practice, and that I get to do it with them. Thinking on his desktop.
I think it's fun helping kids, making them better. This job really stood out to me because I just really wanted to keep the school clean and not having trash and not having it to be like a junky school. The reason why I wanted this job is because the world is very dirty and people drop garbage and it kills the grass and plants and makes them die faster. So I took this job because no one else would, so I took this job instead.
What job for fifth grade leadership do you guys do?
Third grade recess monitor.
And what are some things that your job entails?
Helping kids out, hanging out with them, and seeing if somebody needs a friend to hang out with.
Or if a kid gets hurt, we'll always have Band-Aids in case.
What are some conflicts, Aiden, that you have had to deal with on third grade recess?
Most of the time, it's really just arguing over toys or just equipment on recess.
Brought a few of our leadership fifth graders, so they're going to come up now. And then they're just going to introduce themselves, what their job is, and then you guys can ask them some questions.
I'm Ronnie, and I do greeter leadership.
I'm Kolka, and I help second graders with reading.
I'm Kaden, and I help the first graders with reading.
My name is Aiden, and I help with conflict.
My name is Kylie, and I help with second grade conflicts.
Nice. So you'll see their green lanyards. Those are coveted. If they're wearing a green lanyard, it means they are a leader, and every single teacher is expecting exemplar behavior. And they know if that isn't upheld that they could potentially lose their job. So they take it very, very seriously. And like Mrs. Schinkel was saying, we were able to give 30 students jobs, and there were more than 30 students that wanted jobs. And so now we'll do that again next semester. But it's a big deal, guys. It's a huge deal. So what does leadership mean to you? Like, why do you want to do this? Why does it matter? Give me a thumbs up if you want to answer that question.
Leadership matters to me. It's just I know that I can make someone happy even if not having the best of days. I like to help kids read and try to grow.
Do you think that it's making a difference? Like, do you see your kids getting better every week?
Yeah, I feel like they're definitely getting better after every week I get there.
Leadership to me means helping kids and helping them grow on reading.
Nice. Do you think that matters more to them or more to you?
More to them and me equally.
Yeah, probably both. You both get something out of that? I bet that's true. How about you, Aiden?
I do this because I love to meet new people and help with kids.
Nice. And you do conflict managing for what grade? Third grade. Important to note that we don't have fifth grade leaders on fifth grade recess. We don't do that peer-to-peer. It's younger, so it's only K through 3, and they're doing a phenomenal job.
Leadership means to me that I just get to help kids at recess, help them solve problems that they don't know how to solve.
Exactly. Do you take them over to Kelso's wheel and help them choose a choice if they're having a conflict?
I haven't had to do that yet.
Oh, nice.
They're pretty good out there.
Nice. Very good, because they've got you as an example. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to you, board members, to ask our leaders questions.
I have a question for you. So bullying has been a problem in schools across the United States. And so it sounds like you guys may have come up with something that might be helping with that area. How do you handle a bully when you find them?
I ask the person who's being bullied, how has this person bullied you? And why do you think they're doing it? And then if they have a good reason on why they're bullying, I go to the bully and talk to them, make sure that they apologize to the person who they're bullying and make sure they don't do it again.
And then if it gets bigger, then you go and tell
Recess it.
Yeah.
And do you think this program has helped us reduce bullying? Do you see that?
I think it has.
That's great.
Why do you think it has? I think it has because when there's usually like 3 teachers outside, and it really just helps with other kids around.
Well, I would just thank you for your efforts in that regard. That's a big, big problem in the country, and you guys may have stumbled on a model that you can share with other schools somewhere, and that would make Crook County and you look really good. So thank you for your contributions.
I think that's very true, and I think oftentimes when kids are being unkind to others, they don't understand how it feels. And I tell these kids all the time, you guys have way more power than I do, because peer-to-peer power, the bystander power, is so much more powerful than adults. So they are making a tremendous difference every single day.
What's the reaction when you go up to, are you getting a reaction when you go up and addressing students bullying? Are they, do they receive it well from you versus, I guess, maybe a teacher?
Who wants to answer that, Candy?
Sometimes they look kind of surprised that we came up to them and that they think they're doing really nothing wrong. And I tell them that what they're saying might be hurting the other person, even though they don't know it. So they kind of feel a little bit surprised that I'm telling them that it's hurting the other person.
Plus you're on kindergarten, right? Second grade. Okay, yeah. So second graders are always, well, K3, we kind of chose that just because we were seeing conflicts arise that probably could be managed by either the grade level peer-to-peer or some of our fifth graders, so.
Well, I'm pretty sure that the younger graders help you.
They do, absolutely, yes. Yeah.
And having somebody that you come and say, hey, stop that.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes, I'm sure.
And why wouldn't they look up to them? We always talk about how, well, you tell them, Crooked River kids are the best on the planet. Any Crooked River kid could tell you that. But it really is important to us that you're once a Crooked River kid, always a Crooked River kid, we tell them. And I mean, they have such a good example to look up to. And Kylie said it way better than I could. Just bringing the awareness to the student. Oftentimes when kids are being unkind, they truly don't realize what they're doing to the other person. And so awareness is key. All right, and one final kudos to Sarah Schinkel and John Lindsay because they are the life behind this program. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And you guys, thanks for being here tonight. And parents, thanks for bringing them. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you guys so much. All right, welcome to Crooked River.
Thank you, Mrs. Bonner, for that. So now, since we're moving public comment from 8.0, we're going to now move it to, on 2.0, there was public comment from December 11th meeting. There's no report this month due to Board Chair Brumble being absent. So now we'll move to public comment 2.1. And do we have our first queued up? We have a virtual public comment coming.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. My name is Riley Campbell. I am a 2003 graduate from Crook County, and I have a daughter in middle school. I have a son who is at the elementary school, and I have a son who will be attending school next year. I am here tonight to applaud Dr. Yeka for his work to restore strong leadership in our school district, specifically his willingness to defend the success of the old guard.
Riley,
Yeah,
we are getting you twice. We're hearing you twice. So can you hold on 1 second?
sure.
Thank you. Me?
I can.
Oh, perfect. Okay, can you start again? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, I just got out of dog training, so I'm in my vehicle. All right. My name is Riley Campbell. Is it working? I'm just going to keep going. My name is Riley Campbell. Like I said, I am a 2003 graduate. I have a daughter in middle school, a son in grade school. I am here tonight to applaud Dr. Yeka for his work to restore strong leadership in our school district, specifically his willingness to defend the success of the old guard and pursue bringing back Dr. Joel Hoff to the assistant superintendent role. While we have observed a lack of clear objectives, goals, and strategic planning from our new board, Dr. Hoff had a documented strategy for the district that he continued to present and work towards before his departure. We have been concerned that the district is straight off path, and our perspective is that Dr. Yeka is spending the majority of his time on attempts to bring board members up to the standard of leadership that the community has come to expect. During the November board meeting, Dr. Yeka encouraged this board to adopt Dr. Hoff's strategic plan, and I would like to echo that same message. Don't waste your time learning about how to develop a strategy or what a committee is, etc. Instead, take Dr. Yeka and Dr. Hoff's lead towards getting our district back on track with the solid plans that were already in place before your tenure. I hope we can all agree that we want our students well supported in their academic and extracurricular pursuits, and that we want our excellent graduation rates to continue. It is time to move past the learning curve and into directing this district forward again. While Dr. Yeka's work to reintroduce experienced leadership back into this room is greatly appreciated, I want to ask for some transparency in how the part-time assistant superintendent role came to be. Can you clarify if Dr. Hoff is continuing in his full-time position with Madras through this school year while also reclaiming this portion of his former role? The position obviously was reinvented with Dr. Hoff in mind, and it would be good to know if this decision was made at the superintendent level or the board level, since there was no public discussion on it prior to the rehiring. Looking forward, we are in the process of finding our new superintendent. I am especially curious to know what role Dr. Hoff will take in that process. Dr. Yeka, thank you for all that you have done and continue to do for the success of our district and community. I know it must be proving even more challenging than you anticipated, and I respect you for sticking it out for the good of our schools and our students. And welcome back, Dr. Hoff. Thank you.
excited about it. And those were the big three that were themes that seemed to be in her comments
Thank you.
that I could pick out.
Okay.
Like those were the big three that were themes that seemed to be
Thank you.
that I could pick out.
Okay. Thank you.
My vehicle. All right. My name is Riley Campbell. Is it working? I have a daughter in middle school, a son in grade school. I am here tonight to applaud Dr. Yeka for his work to restore strong leadership in our school district, specifically his willingness to defend the success of the old guard and pursue bringing back Dr. Joel Hoff. I am here tonight to applaud Dr. Yeka for his work to restore strong leadership in our school district, specifically his willingness to defend the success of the old guard.
No,
and
it's
pursue
the one that's
bringing
playing
back Dr.
through.
Joel Hoff. I am here tonight to applaud the assistant superintendent role. While we have observed the lack of clear objectives, goals, and strategic planning from our new board, Dr. Hoff had a documented strategy for the district that he continued to present and work towards before his departure. We have been concerned that the district is straight off path, and our perspective is that Dr. Yeka is spending the majority of his time on attempts to bring board members up to the standard of leadership that the community has come to expect. During the November board meeting, Dr. Yeka encouraged this board to adopt Dr. Hoff's strategic plan, and I would like to echo that same message. Don't waste your time learning about how to develop a strategy or what a committee is, etc. Instead, take Dr. Yeka and Dr. Hoff's lead towards getting our district back on track with the solid plans that were already in place before your tenure. I hope we can all agree that we want our students well supported in their academic and extracurricular pursuits, and that we want our excellent graduation rates to continue. It is time to move past the learning curve and into directing this district forward again. While Dr. Yeka's work to reintroduce experienced leadership back into this room is greatly appreciated, I want to ask for some transparency in how the part-time assistant superintendent role came to be. Can you clarify if Dr. Hoff is continuing in his full-time position with Madras through this school year while also reclaiming this portion of his former role? The position obviously was reinvented with Dr. Hoff in mind, and it would be good to know if this decision was made at the superintendent level or the board level, since there was no public discussion on it prior to the rehiring. Looking forward, we are in the process of finding our new superintendent. I am especially curious to know what role Dr. Hoff will take in that process. Dr. Yeka, thank you for all that you have done and continue to do for the success of our district and community. I know it must be proving even more challenging than you anticipated, and I respect you for sticking it out for the good of our schools and our students. And welcome back, Dr. Hoff. Thank you. For the success of our district and community. I know it must be proving even more challenging than you anticipated, and I respect
Thank you,
for
Ryan,
sticking it out
or Eric.
for the good of
Hey,
our
Eric, can you send that to me, to my email or a link or something so I can actually hear the entirety of that thing? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan, or Eric.
Can you send
Okay, that was fun.
link or something so I can actually hear the entirety of
What else do you do? Felicia York is next. Thank you. Okay, that was fun.
Okay. First of all, I just want to say that I have a child that attends Crooked River Elementary, and they're not wrong when they say that they are the best kids on the planet. And I want to thank Ms. Schinkel for the new program with the leadership stuff. That's really cool. Am I still hearing, Riley? And I want to thank Ms. Oh, it is. It's me. New program with the leadership stuff. That's really cool. Do you want me to try that? Riley? And I want to, oh, it is, it's me. See if we get feedback. So far, so good. You want me to? Club is an organization that is formed to help support the efforts of sports teams and organizations involving students. So imagine my surprise when I was told there isn't any money to support our students. After digging deeper, I was informed the club was left in the hands of our Crook County School District Communications Director to plan the 2023 Senior All-Night Party, resulting in the overspending by $10,000 over what they had fundraised for. The Crook County School District Communications Director apparently signed checks to our past Crook County High School principal, as well as our past board chair. I was told these checks are unaccounted for with no receipts. They wanted an extravagant party for their graduating children, leaving no money for the graduating seniors this year. The Crook County School District Communications Director has not paid any
Madam
monies
Chairman,
to the...
a point of order. We have a rule that we do not criticize personnel in public. We can talk about the situation, but we don't talk about the personnel. That's supposed to be handled with the superintendent and then brought back under the appropriate executive session if necessary.
So can I just refer to the Booster Club then?
You absolutely could.
Okay. They have not repaid any monies to the club and would fundraise to replace the misused funds. Why is the Booster Club that should be working for us and our children not being held accountable? Where is the investigation into this? To my surprise, no one has said anything after discovering this in October last year. At the very least, if not criminal, this is an ethical violation by the Booster Club, using generous businesses' monetary donations to throw a big party and disperse scholarships to only district employees' children. I would like an investigation into this from the board. I want to know each and every person that was involved, I have 4 names, and the thousands of dollars missing. I would like proof of where the funds went and the receipts made public. I also want the situation resolved and the responsible parties to replace the funds, and so that the future graduates can also have a celebratory senior all-night party, even if the budget isn't $25,000+. In addition, I, along with everyone else in Prineville, noticed the blatant neglect from some of the employees to release a statement about the recent allegations made about the chair, Jessica Brumble. When the absurd claims were brought forward, nobody wasted any time releasing a statement of the situation and what to expect moving forward, which then was shared by multiple media outlets, including the Central Oregon Daily. However, when the claims were unfounded and there was no evidence of truth in Gaydon Pack's erroneous statements, the employees did not say a single thing, but left silent, leaving the community to make assumptions and asking more questions. One thing I never questioned was why this was silent, but rather, why are we allowing it? That is just food for thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have no more public comments at this time. Now we'll move to the approval of the consent agenda. And please note the revised minutes for the December board meeting.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
before we move to public comments, the allegations that were just made are serious and would be of concern if they were true. The Booster Club is an independent nonprofit. It isn't report accountable to the school district, but it certainly would be worthwhile to ask the business manager to look into what was alleged and see if there's anything that needs to be further investigated. And then if there were something, that would be turned over to the appropriate authorities, which is not us, since we are not in charge of that entity.
Okay.
It would, I think, helpful to have a motion. So I move to ask the business manager to look into the allegations related to the Booster Club and take appropriate action through referral, if necessary.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to have the business manager look into the allegations of the Booster Club, and we have a motion and a second. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, thank you. Approval of the consent agenda. And again, please note the revised minutes for the December board meeting.
I move to approve its consent agenda with minutes as provided.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. Moving to 4.0, we have superintendent update. And then 4.1, early literacy grant application, Mrs. Lowenbach.
No, you're good.
Yeah, it's really hard to hear over here.
Is he telling us to wait? Oh, go ahead.
Okay, does that work better? Okay. Hi, you guys. I am here to talk about the early literacy grant application. This grant application requires board approval of the application and the three parts that are in it, both the program review tool, the application template, as well as the budget. I sent this application to you maybe a week and a half ago for review through email, and if you have any questions, please make sure to let me know. But just to go through this real quick, this is a new grant by the state of Oregon. It was originally allocated as of House Bill 3198, so legislative beginnings. And so ODE then created a grant, which is a non-competitive grant given to school districts, as well as different community partners, but I'll talk about the school district piece. So for 23-24, our current year, it's a little bit interesting because the grant application was due after you could start kind of spending the money or planning to spend the money. And I think that's because the grant allocation is a guaranteed allocation and it's not competitive. So if we apply and the board approves, we receive that money. We don't lose that money over a different school district if their application is better than ours, which sometimes, sometimes grants are competitive. And so last spring, when we found out that this grant application was going to open at some point this year, I did start looking at the first and the second pieces, and even the third pieces, so the program review tool, the application template, as well as the budget inventory. When the grant came out, you can see that it's in those three pieces. So the first part is the program review tool, and really what that does is it just inventories what we are currently doing around early literacy, around our K through 3 reading and writing programs, literacy programs. And so I had to kind of dive in, have lots of conversations about what is going on in our elementary schools, how are we supporting early literacy, and then also talk about what else could we do, what other needs might we have to support early literacy to make sure our kids know how to read and write. And so the program review tool goes through those areas. What are we doing to support the whole child? What assessments do we have? What curriculum are we using? How are we supporting students with special needs, both language or disability needs in that literacy? The application, the next part, the application review template, goes through kind of 4 main components that it asks. Like in your district, what are you doing and what would you like to do? The goal of this is to make sure that there is either money spent or that there are plans to support early literacy around professional development and coaching, extended learning, so after school programs or summer school programs, high dosage tutoring, and what kind of student growth assessment we are using to measure whether our kids are learning what they're supposed to be learning. And then the last part that you see in your packet is that budget review tool or the budget tool that said, here's what we'd like to spend money on, here's how much it costs, and also for next year, and see that the budget amount or the allocation amount goes up about $10,000, I believe. And so they take into account that if you hire people, costs of hiring people go up year after year, and so they don't want your budget to be kind of busted based on hiring somebody and then having to increase their benefits or increase their salary and having to decrease other places in the budget. So that's kind of an overview. Again, just one of those things is this is K through 3. In the early years, you can allocate some of your money to focus on 4th and 5th graders, but as the grant continues, it'll be really focused in on the K through 3, our early grades. Questions?
Carrie, when I went through and looked at the grant, and can you tell us a few things? I noticed there was a lot of money in there allocated for teacher training. And my concern, having my master's in teaching and stuff, is that I'm not sure that teachers need, I mean, I don't know how much more you need to train them for reading, just because it's pretty basic, like phonics and, just reading with the kids. What can you tell me that you guys are going to use the money for like boots on the ground? I loved Crooked River having the older kids read with the younger kids. I'd love to see something like, maybe volunteer adults coming in or parents coming in. I used to do reading groups with my older kids. Can you share some ways that money can be used to like be in the classroom with the kids rather than teacher training?
Yeah, so some of the ways that we have already planned or in the budget to allocate are hiring. We have a literacy specialist at Steen's Pillar this year. So the money can be used to support that position and in her training other IAs and in teachers on specifically reading techniques, tools, how to small group with kids, how to identify areas that they're not successful in or the areas that they have strengths in. We also have in the budget, you saw it's a literacy interventionist. And so that's another hired person who looks at like, hey, kids are missing something and I need to pull them one-on-one or I need to pull them small groups. And so that's another position that really puts people inside classrooms sometimes or brings kids outside classrooms if they need additional help. And I would say, to go back to the teacher training, I would say just in the last, couple of weeks, had teachers who are seeing that this Eastern Oregon Science of Reading training is going to happen, or that it is maybe budgeted, Eastern Oregon's offering it, and they are like, when can we sign up? We want this training. We didn't learn how to do this when we were becoming teachers in a way that they are now learning that kids need to learn to read. The brain development and the brain science that goes along with identifying that. So I have a lot of teachers who are like, yep, when can we sign up? When can we do that? I had another teacher email me today that said, I'd love to get my reading endorsement now that all this new information about how we learn to read is out, and how can the district support that? So I think for some teachers, they really got a good education in teaching kids to read. And I think for some teachers, they receive some mixed messages on how we teach kids to read at the early grades, and they're looking to see if what they're doing is working.
I did have one question.
Yeah.
As you were going through answering the questions, the PRT 6, I don't know if you ever have it in front of you.
Steve, interestingly, if you can't hear very well, I can't hear you very well.
Oh,
so I think
weird.
you said Program Review Tool 6.
Just there's one sentence about halfway through the paragraph. It says, "Wit and wisdom is very much a windows and mirrors curriculum where diverse authors, characters, and contents are represented." I just want to make sure everybody calms their nerves of non-controversial, correct?
Right, non-controversial.
Wonderful.
Yes, we have vetted and approved and adopted that curriculum. It's not new. What that sort of means is that you have people from all points of history represented.
Perfect.
Yeah, and science as well as social studies. There's fiction as well as nonfiction. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's the answer I was hoping for.
Absolutely.
Carrie, at the last meeting, we talked about no, I don't talk at all. We talked about the Smart Reader program and how great that is, and looking at whether we had comparable programs at the other schools. Can you talk a little bit about that and just kind of update everybody in the room as to
Yeah, I definitely looked into that, and I talked to Kimberly Bonner, and I talked to the principals at all the elementary schools. So right now, Crooked River Elementary is the only one that has the official Smart Reader program, which is a nonprofit organization. And when talking to Smart Program, or talking to Kimberly about the Smart Program, Smart doesn't have the capacity to expand to other elementary schools right now. So what our other elementary schools have done is Taylor Troutman and Stacy Smith have gotten parent and community volunteers to come in and read to grade levels. And then Brian Kissel and Michelle Powers have also taken volunteers that they've had in the past to read to different grade levels. And they have this really adorable bulldog that comes in with a gal, and they take kids to read. So every elementary school has something that's, I would say, Smart Program-ish, but is not the Smart Program because of their capacity to provide volunteers in all of our schools. But our schools did recognize the importance of that, and so have been working to bring volunteers in, both parents and community members, to read with different grade levels.
Thank you. I do support Cheyenne's statement that maybe there's a limit on how much training we need, and we just need to get down to the doing of reading with the kids, and more people incentivized with cute little dogs might be a good strategy to look forward to.
Yeah, I think it's a good balance to have both. By offering training, you're certainly not mandating training. And in this grant, similar to others, like if I budgeted 15 people for that training and we only have 10 that decide to, then we can certainly decide to shift some of those dollars into other places that might make more sense.
I do want to add to my continuing rant at every meeting about ODE and its ridiculous expectations. You know, I heard about this program first at Oregon School Boards Association, and it was wonderful and amazing and all the things we could do with kids. And then I heard how much money we're not getting, and that we've got this like multi-page application with all these strategies that we have to report on and enough money to implement half of one. So, you know, again, if we could ever get our budgets aligned with our realities and not waste time writing grants we can't deliver, but really focus in on what we could deliver, like more volunteers and cute dogs, that would be phenomenal. But unfortunately, the Department of Education is not our best friend when it comes to the way we deliver education. So that's the rant part.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to say that although, you know, sometimes I go back and forth between like, is it enough money? Is it not enough money? Because we have another literacy specialist and a literacy interventionist in our district right now, that this, you know, could help fund and help maintain those positions and help provide that support to those kids. And I think, okay, but it was worth it for me to go through this process. And I learned a lot about what our district is providing students and what our staff would love to have for them and their students as well. So it provided a good opportunity for me too. But nobody likes to sit down and spend their time doing that.
Thanks for your effort.
Yeah.
I motion to accept the grant.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
4.2, we have Trap Club update from Anna.
The Trap Club topic could also be referred to as the Clay Target League. That's their official name, I believe. And the district has a lot of activities and sports and different clubs and things throughout our whole umbrella. And the district tries to support as best we can all of those different activities. The recent assistance with the Trap Club, we just have questions that keep resurfacing on that event, and so I just want to give some clarification and clear up any misunderstandings. So the history of what happened is that the Trap Club requested assistance with some equipment. They need some throwers, and those throwers are $18,000 a piece, and they said they needed 2 of them. So that's $36,000. They followed the proper chain of command. They went through the athletic director, who then came to the chief financial officer, who talked to the superintendent. They did not go directly to the school board. And so during that, through that conversation, we were able to set aside $18,000 for one of the throwers. So that's half of the money that they were hoping for, with the understanding that the Trap Club would fundraise for the rest. And that was, that money, that $18,000 was set aside in a district equipment fund. It was not given to the Trap Club. It wasn't put into the Trap Club's fund. It was put into a district equipment fund that helps a lot of different, mainly athletics. And all of this was complete before this topic was brought up in public comment at a board meeting. So I just want to make it clear that all of that was done prior. And we have not identified a location for where those throwers will be. I know that the Trap Club is working on fundraising for the rest of the throwers, and now I think they actually want to have a total of 3 throwers if they can. But until they have the rest of that money raised, it's really not urgent for us to identify a location for that to be, but we do know that having it on private property would be problematic. So we still have something to solve on that. If for some reason the Trap Club never used that $18,000 that was set aside, the district would be able to use that money for other purposes. That's all I have to say on that. Do you have any questions?
Not a question, but just to confirm, you or Dwayne, one of them, told me the other day that despite all this, there's a solid plan. The Trap Club's moving forward. It has space to operate on. It has a plan for how to operate, and it's well underway with its activities. Can you confirm that?
I don't know of which space he's referring to, because that hasn't been brought to me for review yet.
Mike?
Yes, I believe they're using either the Bend Trap Club or the Madras Trap Club at this time.
Yes, they've been able to practice using other locations. Right. The ideal thing for them, though, would be to find a place in Crook County to be able to practice.
Because it involves guns, I would assume they're not allowed to be on district property. Is that why they were looking at private property, or?
The problematic thing with the district purchasing the throwing equipment and then placing that on private property would be that it would be an improvement to a private property, and then there would be some insurance things to work out, some liability things to work out, and then our policy actually says that there's some differences in insurance and policy that have to do with who's actually operating the equipment. So we would have to figure out exactly, ideally, it just wouldn't be on private property with district-owned equipment. But again, we don't have to worry about all those things until we figure out what the next steps are.
There are other trap clubs in the state of Oregon, right?
Yes.
So could we not have our athletic director call around and find out what everybody else is doing as far as property?
We can do that.
It might give us some ideas about what we should be doing.
I never really expected to be an expert on trap club. So I'm really just trying to figure out. And honestly, I don't have to know all the details. When someone comes forward to me and says, there's a need, I try to make sure that we figure out a way to help if we can and if it makes sense. And so I have to look at policy, I have to look at money, I have to look at insurance and all those different things. And all of the details become clearer once you eliminate the 1,000 possibilities that you could potentially do. So you start narrowing down what you want to do, and then you start figuring out exactly what are the insurance implications, what are the policy implications of what it is we want to do, and then work around that. There's no action on this. I just wanted to publicly clear it up because we just keep getting questions on it, and I just wanted to make it clear.
Thank you, Anna. 4.3, school board listening sessions. Dr. Yaka?
Can I jump a little out of order here and say that we have a special guest here tonight? We have been without a special ed director for this part of the school year since late August, and we are very, very, did I say very thankful that Grant Hayball is here tonight. Can you wave and welcome? I can tell you this man is very well qualified with a professional administrator license, a master's in special education. He's been a principal at multiple levels. So this guy is very, very well thought of and comes highly recommended. So we're very excited. Now I'm going to move to the school board listening sessions. Wanted to just talk to them briefly. We've had 2 sessions so far. They've been rather small, perhaps 10 or 12 on average. We're just wondering, posing a question tonight, if there's possibly a better model than the one we have going now, that where it could bring some more people. Vice Chair Jennifer and I have talked about even the possibility of tacking on some time at the end of a regular board meeting for some listening sessions. But I don't have a proposal for you tonight. I'm just saying we're not reaching as many people as I would like with this program, and let's keep looking to see if there's something better out there.
Okay, thank you. Moving to 5.0 school board update. It looks like, are we ready for Mr. Hess?
Hello. Can everyone hear me?
Hi, Rob,
Oh,
can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yes. Can you hear me?
Oh, hold on, we can't hear you.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Hess, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yes. Can you hear me? Not yet. I'm not muted on my end. Still no sound? Yes.
It seems IT is working, they can hear you, but we can't, so they're working on that right now.
Okay, all right, that's great. That's great. I've been watching the meeting and seeing some technical difficulties, so I can understand.
Do we want to?
Rob, we're going to move to 5.2 right now while IT works with you.
Okay.
Okay. Leland?
All right. So if the board is okay with this, I'd like to actually kind of flip-flop 5.22 and 5.21. Okay? You guys, is everybody okay with that? I think it actually kind of sets the stage for the second part. So, first thing I want to do is because we're going to be talking about what the Awesome Grant, which stands for Oregon Schools. I don't know what all it stands for. It's a grant that is between $6 and $12 million. They offer it twice a year. ODE does. We have to apply for it in advance. So, for example, if we were to go out for a May bond, I've already applied for that grant. And the way the funding's set up for that particular, the number of requests that came in, we get $6 million to work with our bond if we passed a bond in May, okay? So do you guys fully understand how that grant works? Okay. So Anna has created this wonderful timeline that talks a lot about what happens with each one of those bonds. So it is probably possible that we could go out in May. It would be extremely rushed and very difficult to get it done, but we could do it. We've already done everything we needed to do with ODE to get our grant. We would have to have the Long Range Facilities Committee meeting starting like sometime end of this month. If we were to wait and go in November, which is a little, have to submit another application on July 15th to go out for another bond or another Awesome Grant. And it depends, it's not guaranteed we would get the full $6 million if we got it. We would probably get something if we pass the bond. Even if we go out in November, I would like to get the Long Range Facilities Committee started probably the 1st of February so we can have lots of meetings and get the projects that we would want to do all lined up and set. If we do not go out in November, in order to qualify for an Awesome Grant for a future bond, we have to have another long-range facilities plan. We'd have to start all over and do another plan, as well as another facilities assessment. The last one cost right at $50,000. There are grants available from ODE to get those. There's a grant for the assessment and a grant for the long-range facilities plan. They usually cover the full cost of that. if you get the grant. So it could be, we might have to wait 2 years to get it into the cycle. Okay? Does all this make sense as far as what our options are for a bond? Do you guys have any questions about that?
What did you say? You said you've already applied for the one for, if we went to a May bond.
Yes, I automatically apply for every one of them.
Good for you. And what was the value of that? Or you don't know the value of that?
So for a school district our size, the max value would be 6 million.
Okay.
If they had like if we had multiple schools all go out for bonds and pass their bonds, then we could end up with like 3 or 4, or it would
So
vary.
that's the pool that's drawn off.
Yeah, they have a pool of money and they're gonna delegate it the way they're gonna do it.
So you're not guaranteed 6 million? I mean,
No.
unless nobody else applies, but.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So the Long Range Facilities Committee, so the purpose of that committee is to bring the board a suggestion or a proposal to go out for a bond. So the committee is going to set up what are the important projects. The first meeting that I would have with that committee is, I think, Jennifer and Cheyenne, you guys are both on the bond committee, so you would be at that meeting. The first meeting, we would probably talk about what we did in the original long-range facilities plan and look what was suggested by the architects. And then from there, we could actually build out some of the projects and the priorities. And I'd say within 3 to 4 meetings, we would probably be able to propose to the board that we go out for a bond probably in November. So Tammy has given you guys, in your board packet, you should have a list with all of the committee members. It shows committee members that have actually filled out a new application or that we have an application on file. And then there's another group of people that were interested that have not filled out an application. I would like to recontact those people that we have not had contact with, offer them the opportunity to fill out another application and give them a deadline of like January 18th. Because there is a board work session on the 22nd, and we could possibly take a look at that. If Cheyenne and Jennifer, you guys wanted to, we could have another public meeting and actually discuss those like the day after the 18th. I think that's what yeah, on the 19th, if you guys wanted to. That's about it.
So Leland, when
Yes,
we last did the facilities study, it did not look at the issue of needing expanded gym space. That has since emerged as one of the top issues that we're facing, is that we have such a wonderfully, wildly popular athletics program, we can't even facilitate it anymore, which is a wonderful problem to have. I'm not critical of it. But I do think we have to insert that piece, that analysis, before we go back out. Sending out a bond without addressing the athletics problem would just be a horrible waste of resource. So how do we bring that into the picture?
So in a lot of the project lists last time, we added more stuff. I mean, we don't have to just put projects that were suggested in the long-range facilities plan on our bond. We can do whatever we want. So we would just
Where are they at?
something that would help us acquire more gym space. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet. We've looked at several different options. There's quite a bit of ground at the high school, but for the most part, most of it's actually being used. But we could crowd some things and maybe build something else over there. There's lots of space at the middle school in places, so we could build something there. So we can add the projects.
So we could bolt on a gym here and a gym there. I understand that. But what I want to build is the right amount of gym for what we project our need to be. That's different than just throwing a few more there. How do we get the analysis about, where our deficiency is, which programs it's in, and then how to resolve that long term, especially combined with growth projections?
I do have our athletic directors on the list, I think. I know Rob's on that list. He's further down on the committee list, and he was involved the last time we did this. So I would involve Rob, and I would also involve Adam Stefanik from the middle school, so that we can get a good idea what they think our future needs are going to be for athletics. I can tell you from a facility usage standpoint that there's no gym space at all. And you're correct, we do need lots more gym space.
I have real concerns about moving too fast on this bond. We are about to do a superintendent changeover. That's its own kind of chaos that can't be avoided. You know, we've still got a young learning board. We have extra needs that we didn't know about last time. We have the whole enormity of whatever's going to happen when the data center is rolling onto the tax base. I think we need to be really careful about how we move forward. I would like to see us appoint the long-range facilities committee to get started, but not create a hurry-up timeline to go with it, because I don't think we're going to be ready for the November election, to be quite honest.
So Leland, as long as that committee is moving and functioning, you don't have to redo the whole program?
No, we would still, if we don't go out for a bond in November, we would have to hire another architect to do the whole assessment, long-range facilities plan.
Redo everything?
Yeah, you have to redo it every 5 years.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
I'm in agreement with Scott. I'm a little bit nervous about rushing the bond. I want to make sure that we can pass the bond and that we have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. So I would like to see that we do the long-range facilities committee, but I'm not a fan of pushing the bond too fast.
Okay.
Just one other consideration for all of us is Governor Kotek says that as part of her new education plan, that she's going to run through legislation in the 2025 session that's going to add more capital capacity for schools. Well, wouldn't that be wonderful? I hope she does. But we would definitely want to be able to be in a position to tap into that before we went out and paid the whole bill ourselves, if she's really going to be able to get that from the legislature.
Okay. Are there any other questions for me?
So do you want to frame your committee, do your solicitations, and bring back your proposed committee list at the next meeting, or how
I couldn't quite make out what you're saying, Scott. Sorry.
Do you want to fill out your list of potential committee members by reaching back out to your group and then bring us that proposed list at the next meeting, or do you want us to authorize something tonight? What are you looking for?
I don't think we need to authorize anything tonight. If we start to assemble that committee, we could bring that to the board at the next board meeting. That's plenty of time, I think, to do that.
Perspective.
Any other questions or concerns or comments for Leland? Anything more for us, Leland?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go back to Mr. Hess. Hi, Rob.
Yes. Hello there. Can you hear me now?
Hold on, I don't hear you.
Okay.
Do you hear him out of that speaker? We're going to go back to Mr. Hess.
Turn up this speaker.
Hi, Rob.
Hello there.
Turn up the
Test.
speaker right here.
Hello there. Can you hear me now?
Hold on. We're hearing a little bit out of.
Rumble from the speaker.
Yeah.
So I just heard an echo.
Okay, can you
Keep
say
talking.
your
I think I
alphabet
can
or
hear him out of
something?
this speaker.
Yeah. Hello. This is Rob Hess. And
We're hearing a little bit out of. Yeah.
so I just heard an echo.
Okay, can you
Keep
say
talking.
your
I think I
alphabet
can
or
hear him out of
something?
this speaker.
Yeah,
Hello,
yeah,
this
I'm hearing an interesting echo.
Little bit out of, yeah.
So I just heard an
Okay,
echo.
can you
keep
say
going.
your
I think I
alphabet
can
or
hear him out of
something?
this speaker.
Yeah,
Hello,
yeah,
this
I'm hearing an interesting echo.
Little bit out of, yeah.
So I just heard an
Okay,
echo.
can you
keep
say
going.
your
I think I
alphabet
can
or
hear him out of
something?
this speaker.
Yeah,
Hello.
yeah. Let me try now. How's that?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Okay, can you
Keep
say
going.
your
I think I
alphabet
can
or
hear him out of this
something?
speaker.
Yeah.
We
Hello.
have some sort of an echo going on.
Let me try now. How's that?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Okay, can you
Keep
say
going.
your
I think I
alphabet
can
or
hear him out of this
something?
speaker.
Yeah, I will try to call a cell phone. That,
Yeah.
is that better?
Okay, can you
Keep
say
going.
your
I think I
alphabet
can
or
hear him out of this
something?
speaker.
Yeah, I will try to call a cell phone. That,
Yeah.
is that better?
Okay, can you
Keep
say
going.
your
Hello, do we have sound now? How about now? Do we have sound? All right, looks like we have solved this problem. Hello, do we have sound now? How about now? Do we have sound?
No.
All right, looks like we have solved this problem. Hello, do we have sound now? How about now? Do we have sound?
No.
All right, looks like.
Madam Chairman, can I suggest maybe a way forward might be that we can handle offline the selection of the selection committee later tonight. We don't need Rob for that. And he can be scheduled at our meeting on the 22nd to give the update and do the work around the search. Would it hurt us to delay that from now till then?
Scott, I was gonna suggest that maybe I noticed when I looked through all of the applications, we have 14 that people did not submit paragraphs for, and 11 that people did. I was gonna suggest that perhaps we put off the vote until the 14th, until we have everybody present, and maybe give those people who did not have a chance to turn those in to get that done, and then we select on the 22nd. Because it looks like, our application process isn't closed yet for the superintendent. So I think we would be able to stay on track if we could just move everything to the 22nd. And then everybody would be present, yeah?
We're getting
Can you
a
hear
thumbs up
us?
from Rob. I think that will clean us up. This is clearly not going to work. So,
Can I motion to move everything to the 22nd?
second.
Sorry, this whole technology thing. All in favor of moving the selection until the 22nd? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Thank you, Rob. Sorry. Okay. Whew. All right, we're going to move to 5.3, curriculum discussion, and then 5.31, math. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm back. I want to introduce to you Shannon McCaw. Shannon McCaw is a world renowned in my math consultant who has worked with and for our district for several years. And at the last board meeting, when we started to talk a little bit about curriculum adoption, I had a few follow-up questions, and so I asked Shannon if she would be here to kind of go through what has been the nature of math changes over the years, both standards, assessment, curriculum, and she has graciously agreed to come and share her wisdom and knowledge with us around all things math. So she will be able to answer any questions, and I will pipe in if I need to. But she has a few handouts in your board packet, so.
I do want to insert one thing, Carrie, that I think is important that you missed in your introduction.
Yeah.
Shannon McCaw is a world-renowned math consultant, absolutely, one of the best in the country, and she lives in Powell Butte. And I think we should note that.
She
Crook
lives
County.
right here in our backyard.
Again.
Yes.
Okay, so what I wanted to do was go through the ODE, kind of what they are asking us to do with the new standards, and then how Crook County is approaching that, and blend that into how that's guiding our adoption process. So we have been working on a math textbook or instructional materials adoption for a year, and I want to update you on where we're at with that, but I first wanted to give you just a quick rundown on the so you'll see 4 pages in your handouts. They are these 4 kind of cornerstones that ODE asks us to do on focus, engagement, pathways, and belonging. Some of these things we have embraced from ODE, and other things we have taken our own little bit of approach on to fit the community that's here. So one of the great things about the new standards that we're trying to adopt curriculum for is this idea of focus. So we really want to focus. In Crook County, we have taken an approach calling these our critical minimums. So this is something that we're asking each grade level. We have picked 8 to 10 skills, math skills, that we want every kid to be able to do. These are a subset of the standards here in Oregon. And so our focus has been, and actually Carrie included a graph that we'll talk about in just a bit here, but that has really been to drive both our assessment data and just our kids' life skills of what our kids need to know and be able to do to be successful in any career pathway. And so these critical minimums our teachers are assessing on, we're doing interventions on, we're extending, and these go all the way through geometry in high school. So these are kindergarten through geometry. These are Crook County, we have set these for ourselves. So these are again, repeating that, a subset of the standards. We've also taken an approach that we want to emphasize fluency for our students. And so you will see even here at Crook County, or at Crooked River, you'll see the nails, the mural out front. That was, each of those nails represent kids doing fluency in their math skills and practice. And so we've really embraced that in lots of different ways, in games and in technology, and assessing kids in that. So we're really wanting to build those kids quick knowledge of facts that will help them be successful in higher levels of mathematics. And then our other piece of focus is the state is asking us to relook at high school math courses. And they are calling it the Core 2. This is quite a big change from, high school is seeing the biggest change in our standards. They're asking high school to have a core 2-year program, which is a credit of algebra, a half credit of geometry, and a half credit of data science. That all students will complete that in 2 years, or in 2 credits, and then after that, that moves us to a different one of the cornerstones, which is having different pathways for the 3rd credit. So I'll come back to that. So here at Crook County, for focus, our high school team is really has been focused on the Core 2. We haven't started thinking about that +1 in depth because we want to get solid on our Core 2. The biggest change that would affect, like that you guys would, from if you've had children come through the system, or even in your own personal life, you probably took a full year of geometry. The state is asking us to cut that down to a half of year, to now have a half year of data science, because they believe statistics is an important piece that has not really been recognized in current math standards until now. And it's quite important for kids to be able to understand what's being presented to them in media and that kind of thing in statistics, and understand bias and understand all those different pieces of data science. For engagement, this is pretty quick. So the next page was ODE is asking us to rethink how much we are authentically applying mathematics to kids' lives. This is actually kind of the pendulum swing. They're asking us to almost go back to projects. If you remember doing math projects, that had been taken out of our program because we had so many standards to teach. They're asking us to really think about how to, like the whole question, like when am I ever going to use this in life, to really ask our teachers. And so we've been doing a lot of training on getting teachers to apply like performance tasks and projects and what can that look like so that kids can actually get their hands dirty in doing real life math. So we've been really trying to incorporate that already into our program. The next of the 4 cornerstones of ODE's new standards is pathways, and that really is around that high school +1. So we still have 3 credits of math required for graduation in Oregon, but the 3rd credit is no longer standards-based. That means there isn't a set of new, like Algebra 2 standards. So Algebra 2 is no longer required in the standards in Oregon. Some people would call this watering down the standards because we no longer require all students to get through that amount of content, but what it also does open up for kids who maybe 4-year college was not an option. It gives us an option to really look at different CTE courses, like technical courses that so we've thought about like construction geometry or financial algebra and a lot of these options for a 3rd credit that isn't Algebra 2. We still want to encourage as many kids as possible to take Algebra 2 or college readiness classes. But so this is something we are restructuring. You'll see on that page, what are we doing for these pathways? We're really trying to dive into being a small district, we can't offer 10 different 3rd credit options. We don't have the staffing for that. So we're really trying to pick what would be best for our community of children as they're sophomores leading into their junior year, to pick a path that would really be a math class that's pertinent to their career pathway or their college pathway. So we're trying to also increase our options of college credit in mathematics for that 3rd credit as well. So some of these, like there's Math in the Real World, Math 105, which gets kids college credit but is not Algebra 2 bound, so we're trying to incorporate some of those classes already. So I'm really excited about the work and the offerings we'll have for different types of students. The problem with this that we're running up into as we think about adoption of materials is that there aren't books for this. It really comes down to like teachers having to like find and create materials for this 3rd credit, especially if it's not Algebra 2. There's lots of Algebra 2 texts, but not so much a lot of these other 3rd credit options, which then our teachers don't exactly have a lot of time to be writing curriculum. So this is something that our adoption team has run up against as going to be a barrier for good implementation of this, is how do we get good curriculum for this? The last of the 4 is probably ODE's most controversial, and this I want to kind of address to make sure to clear this up. It's belonging, so I'm on the belonging page of the handouts. You'll notice up at the top, the ODE part of that, the colored box, talks about recommending detracking mathematics, which is saying no more having accelerated math classes at our middle schools, and this is not a requirement. You can notice the word recommending. Here in Crook County, we have chosen to still offer acceleration pathways as well as intervention classes to help support kids on both ends. Our goal is, and this is my 3rd bullet there, is to really offer many on-ramps and off-ramps. We don't want us to decide when kids are in 5th grade whether they're going to be an accelerated kid and they're forever on that pathway, or that they're not an accelerated kid. And so what we want to do is make sure we're supporting students as they maybe grow and mature, that they still have options to be in advanced math classes. But we also want to recognize that when kids aren't doing well in advanced math classes, we can move them back and it won't be a hindrance to their success overall. So we are not planning to detrack here in Crook County. We believe that there's as much data to support, successful on-ramp, off-ramp tracking, as well as, so we're really looking at making sure we are, though, the last other piece of belonging is increasing the use of technology, especially at the high school level. I mean, You know, back in the day, we used to say, oh, what are you going to expect? Have a calculator in your pocket? And now we all have calculators in our pockets. And so we not only have calculators, we have graphing calculators essentially in our pockets with cell phones. So really trying to utilize technology to help increase student understanding of mathematics, but not at elementary. We're not bringing out calculators at elementary. We're still keeping true to helping build students' number sense, leading to more success. So how that all plays into, I don't know if you can turn to the graph page in your handouts. One thing I know came up as a question was, the good old state assessment. And I do want to recognize our teachers and our students for the work that they have been doing. If you look at Crook County's line versus the state line, does everybody have that graph in front of them there? You'll see that the state was, as an average for looking at third through, it used to be 10th graders, 11th graders as the state switched, we had been performing for many years under the state average. You'll notice those test scores were higher. That was a previous assessment that more students scored well on. It was much easier per se. It was more students passed it. When we switched to Smarter Balance, you can still see that we were below the state average in Crook County.
Point of privilege. Can we put this up on the screen so everybody can follow along?
Are you able to pull that graph up on the screen?
It's page 64 of the packet.
Okay, that's fine.
I think it's important we let everybody see what we're talking about here. This makes not a lot of sense if you can't see
Right, yes. And so just to give context to that big drop in test scores statewide and for Crook County, that's when we switched to the Smarter Balanced Assessment, which was on the Common Core state standards. That assessment no longer was minimum requirements to graduate. That's what the old assessment was on, was minimum. It was now on, are you 4-year college bound ready? And so that the bar switched. And so the bar used to be, are you good enough to graduate? And then in 2014, our assessment switched, are you good enough to enter into a college level math class as a freshman? Okay, so that was a huge switch, and as the whole state, Crook County and everybody else, had this huge drop. I mean, it went from, we were up in the around 60% of kids passing to around a little under 40%. So what I do want, and hopefully they can pull that up because it's something to celebrate, is that coming out of COVID with our focus, both having been in school more than many others, but also our focus on critical minimums for our students, our students as a whole have switched to being below the state average to being above the state average for the first time in many years. And so, yes, our percentage passing is not great. The whole state, the whole country's percent passing is not great. But I do want to recognize that our work that we've been doing here to focus in has helped us rise above the state average as a whole, as a district. So I thought that graph was very pertinent to that. So hopefully they can pull that up so everybody else can see that, but I wanted to give you a chance to ask questions about that before I just really quick wrap up of where we're at with all of this, with our goals of where we're headed, where that's led us to with the textbook adoption. So any questions on any of this?
No, I'm looking at Scott and I's notes, and we've got the same thing circled on the same page of 2009. I mean, obviously, this graph doesn't go back any further than that, but again, it's not just Crook County. What changed that everything all of a sudden is just taking us dropped statewide? I mean, we're not unique at all. What changed?
Right. So in 2009,
is it just the way they were testing, or was it the actual?
Well, so 2010, 11. So the standards changed, but the test didn't. So this is one of the flaws of the system of state assessing. So in 2010, 11, we were given new standards in Oregon to address Common Core state standards. Okay. But the state was like, we don't have a test for this yet. It took them 4 years before they adopted a new test. But our teachers were teaching to the new standards. So I might be teaching as a 7th grade teacher, adding and subtracting integers, but in the old standards that was tested on the 6th grade test. But I'm a 7th grade teacher now being told I need to teach to the new standards. So it was like showing up for a game and being ready for the wrong team. Like being ready for a team that had good post players that are shooting a lot of, like shots at the basket when really we're playing against a team shooting threes.
Yeah.
So we were not, so the whole state was being told to switch, and we adopted new curriculum that was addressing the new standards, but still being assessed. And then you'll see the next big drop happened when we switched assessments, and that assessment was testing college readiness. So that was a second change. So there was two big drops in those two times.
So it was curriculum and also how you
One was
tested.
curriculum, and then the second one was the assessment bar changed. And there is no love for Smarter Balance. The new OSAS assessment is convoluted and confusing. So, yeah.
Can I ask, the new curriculum was Common Core, so prior to adopting and teaching to Common Core, what were our test scores?
So you can see we
And
were
our retention.
So that is that darker line underneath there, that blue line. So our test scores were below state average, and much further. So that really the only year you have on here of that like pre-Common Core kind of curriculum are those first couple dots there.
So do we have any data that goes back prior to 2009 and 2010 to see what our retention was prior to that?
In comparison to the state, is that what you're kind of wanting to look at? We can pull that. I mean, it's available, yes. So one of the things that go ahead, is there any other questions on this before I speak to, and the graph, I don't know if you're able to blow up just the graph for people to see. I'm getting really, the math part that we're, so folks that are sitting here, that blue line is Crook County, and the red line is the state. So you'll see that we were below the state, getting closer and closer to the state, then COVID hit, and then now that blue line has jumped above the state. Again, not huge, but still, it should be something that we recognize. It's took us a while to get to that place, so.
I'm just looking at the overall trend. I mean, regardless of whether it's us, it's just the state and everybody, it just continues to drop. I mean,
Yes.
it's leveled off, but that just seems really.
Yeah, and part of that is we're basing this on one assessment, those scores that we're looking at. And so whether it's, it would be, we all wonder, like, what if our kids were taking that assessment from 10 years ago, what would they look like, so because right now we're above the state average. If we were above the state average back then, we'd be at 80% of kids hitting the standards we wanted them to. So that is one of our goals here as we look at curriculum, is that we don't believe, like, the full breadth of the Common Core is massive and is really written for college-bound children. And what happens is we cruise through too much math, we leave behind so many children. And that is something that we've recognized in Crook County, especially post-COVID, is that we're leaving behind a lot of kids if we try to teach all the standards. And so what we have done in Crook County is say, we are not going to teach all of the Common Core. We're going to look at a vertical alignment of the critical minimums at each grade level. And so as we're looking at curriculum, we're really looking at not just does it address all the standards, which essentially are the Common Core for K-8. Our high school standards here in Oregon now are not Common Core. They're much more focused, much more reasonable. But we're looking at K-8, we still have the Common Core, essentially. Oregon renamed them the Oregon Standards, but they're essentially still the Common Core. Crook County is saying that's not good for all kids. That's really good for, we want to still offer the option to extend for the kids who are headed to college, but we have a lot of students who need a lot of support to hit our critical minimums. And we're finding a lot of success for those students vertically, as our 6th grade, our 7th grade teachers are telling us we're getting better kids from the elementary than we've seen in a long time. And we're teaching less at the elementary school, but we're teaching it better and we're teaching it deeper. And so we're really focusing on fewer standards, those things that a lot of us remember, adding and subtracting fractions and our multiplication, understanding and division understanding. Yeah, and so really focusing on both conceptual understanding and getting to that place of procedural fluency with the application. We want to make sure we're applying, because if you don't understand how to use it when you get into a real world situation, what good was it? So. So I'm excited about the work. I don't often have districts jump on with, we're kind of doing something that's a little bit out of the box here in Crook County by saying we're not going to teach all the standards. And we're going to get to smarter balance assessment and our kids won't know the answers to all the questions because we didn't teach all of that, but the ones they have been taught, they know well. And our data shows that when we look at individual strands. And so we're focusing on priorities.
So what are you saying? Our SBAC scores are going to continue to decline?
I actually don't think so. That's not what, so the 2 years that we've done this, our scores jumped above the state average.
The state average also fell because no districts were in session to teach anybody.
Yeah. I think that what we'll hope to see is that so honestly, it's a huge statistical calculation to understand how to calculate a smarter balance score, but essentially you have to get less than half the questions right on smarter balance to pass. It's adaptive, so it's hard to, some questions are worth more than others and all of that, but what we're finding is that our kids are really solid on over half the stuff, that we don't think our test scores will drop, because even though we aren't learning a third of the content, because what they know well. So.
Shannon, I'd like to thank you for all the work that you've put in, and we're very, very blessed to have you. And I know Scott is not underestimating when he says you're world-renowned. I'm very, very happy to have you here.
Well, good. And I've enjoyed working with this team. We have the teachers have really embraced the math professional development. If you look at the numbers of teachers that have shown up for summer work and extra work. So I actually respect that where we got to with our textbook adoption, we had our teachers at elementary pilot, and they came back and said, this does not match what our goals are in Crook County. This is not focused on the critical minimums. It goes too fast. It's at too surface level. There's too much words. Not enough fluency, and so we are at a place where our teachers voted to say this is not the right program for us. And so Carrie and I take a deep breath because now we're back to the drawing board, but and we're not going to rush it because what we don't want to do is spend money on something for the next 7 years that doesn't address our goals. And our teachers are being able to address the goals without really, we're piecing together a curriculum right now from a variety of resources at elementary. And so this is something that it's hard work for the teachers to work without really an adopted curriculum. Our curriculum is self-created essentially right now, but they are willing to take that on to make sure that we get for longer to make sure we get the right curriculum. So where we're at elementary is we're going back to we've requested samples back. Actually, one of the programs that was in our top 3 from last time. One we crossed off because we felt like it really wouldn't be a benefit to the community for a variety of reasons that were non-math related. And so we took that off. It was one of our top 3 for the math, but it had a lot of extra stuff in it that we decided we didn't need. And so and then we have 2 others that we're going to be looking at. So I'm really going to be looking at those programs better, with this lens now that we've piloted. Our teachers would like to at least do a small pilot of anything. They've realized they gleaned a lot from trying the materials in the classroom. And so and we're still working on a timeline, but we wanted to update you guys to kind of say, we're trying to make sure, kind of like the bond, to not rush it and make sure we are well educated. Our middle school, and just due to conflict of interest, I do have an adopted program on the state adopted list for middle school. I have not. The middle school has always been part of a different adoption process because they wanted to look at my program. They did pilot my program this year, and so Carrie is continuing to work with them on whether or not they're going to, so she could speak to that if you're interested in hearing about that. But I have not been part of the middle school textbook adoption due to that conflict of interest. And then also, I would say that our high school team piloted a program and also didn't like it. And unfortunately, because Oregon is small, there isn't material written to our new Oregon standards. And so this core 2, with a data science component and all of that, there isn't textbook companies out there writing programs for us in Oregon. So any program we do choose to spend money on, we're going to have to do a lot of work to shape it into these courses. And so our teachers are reluctant to buy something again where we're half of it's garbage. And so I'm meeting with them soon to kind of look at next steps with Bree and a couple of our leaders of our teacher team because we have a very young 7 years collective experience of our high school math team in Crook County. So like that's collective between 5 teachers. So we have a very new to Crook County team, almost 8 now if we count the half years of each of them this year. So we're going to be working with them to decide what's next for high school. So really where we're at is I need to come back in a few months, essentially, Carrie or I, and let you know what our new timeline is, but we aren't rushing. We can ask the state for a 1-year postponement of adoption because really we were supposed to adopt either last year or this year. And so we need to request a 1-year postponement. And that's kind of where we're leaning right now is we need that time. We're not going to be ready to bring materials to you guys in May to adopt for next year, most likely. At elementary and then middle and high school, it might be different, but Carrie's helping oversee that. So, any questions around the adoption process?
Can we go back to the beginning of your presentation? Because there was something there that I thought was really important and I hadn't realized. Summarizing what I think you told me, we now believe that we can do the core of all mathematics students in high school need to know in 18 months, and then we're going to bolt on this statistics class that we think they need to know and call it good. Despite the fact that math has been in the curriculum since the Middle Ages when we had the trivium, and math was one of those parts, or in the formula reading, writing, and arithmetic, we're now going to drop arithmetic. We are seriously in this state thinking we are going to dumb math down to the point where you can just get everything you need in 18 months and go on your merry way? Is that what I understood you to say?
Well, there is a third credit required, but that third credit there isn't requirements for what that third credit is in terms of.
Math in psychology or something.
Sure, yes.
And that would satisfy.
Correct. Or more data science, or yes.
Home economics,
yes.
Because we actually add up things there.
If we are incorporating some high school mathematics into it, yes. So that's why yes, and we're not going to, I don't want to get too far because there's plenty you can read about ODE's math requirements, and it's controversial even in their postponement of Smarter Balance for high school. So I'm not sure if you saw that, but it's not until 2029 that there's even the possibility that kids are going to have essential skills required again to graduate. And so that also our test scores are lower because so few kids take it in high school because it doesn't matter to them. You know, they used to need to get a certain score on that to graduate, and Oregon has said that's keeping back certain populations in Oregon from graduating, and so they've chosen to just postpone it for all students. And again, I don't want to get sidetracked for that because that's not Crook County related, it's more the state, but it is, we have probably the easiest math standards if we're talking about ease of standards in terms of content for all students in the nation, but we also aren't saying that's what we want for all kids. It's just saying, well, we want all kids to get this core 2. Our hope in Crook County is we encourage a lot more kids, right, to take a third credit that is leading them to success in college.
So we have the easiest math standards in the nation before or after we reduce it to 18 months?
After.
Why is this a good idea?
I don't think that's what I'm presenting on right now.
You can, but you're the world expert, so surely
I wasn't part of writing the Oregon math standards, so.
When has all this come, I don't even know where to begin my words.
So why did Oregon?
What's the timeline on this? How did we get here?
How did Oregon get to the current high school math standards?
This is all ODE. This is not legislature or any of that.
Yeah.
This is ODE coming up with the idea that we need to rewrite things. When were these published?
They were supposed to come out during COVID, and then obviously COVID postponed it, so they didn't get adopted by the state board till October 2021.
So where have they been hiding since 2021?
Well, we've been working on our core 2, which core 2 is all our kids were taking the first 2 years of math. Our biggest shift was our kids don't take a semester or trimester of geometry. Well, they don't take 2 trimesters of geometry. They take a trimester of geometry and a trimester of data science. So that's the biggest shift in Crook County in addressing these standards currently, is our kids are not taking a full year of geometry anymore.
They're taking now a semester, a trimester?
A trimester, so 12 weeks.
Oh, 12 weeks to learn geometry.
Yeah.
And that
The
comes from the
ancient
state.
Greeks would be so
Say
proud.
that again,
That
Steve?
state is saying to do that.
The state is, yes, that is the state.
Carrie, do we have to do this? Can we have a more rigorous curriculum and more rigorous requirements?
Yes, please.
And this ain't my idea of how to run a school district.
Well, I would say though, if you're saying which is more rigorous, data science or geometry, data science by far is more rigorous. It is a much harder class than geometry. So I don't know that our rigor has dropped. The shift of instruction on what content has changed.
My recollection is that after 1 year of geometry, I still barely understood geometry.
Yeah. The other piece is when you look at what colleges are requiring, all college placement tests don't have any geometry on them. It's all Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and data science. And so the focus at college level, there's really not geometry classes. Unless you're a math major like I was, you aren't taking any geometry classes in college. You're taking all focused on the calculus track, which comes from Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and data science.
So where does trigonometry come in? Or we just
Well, trigonometry is taught in Algebra 2. The intro of it is taught in geometry with some basic trig functions, but that's all covered again in Algebra 2. So I don't know so I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing that our geometry has shrunk. I don't think we've thrown out the rest of that year in math. We're just doing different math.
So to my original question, do we have to do this, Carrie?
I don't know the answer to that,
Can you find out, please?
but I talked to her.
Yeah.
She and I will
Yes,
talk.
yeah. So. And we can always offer more math with the trimester system. Like kids could take a year, like 2 trimesters of geometry, which is a credit, and a trimester of data science, but that requires more math staffing. So we do have kids interested in taking more math, but that requires math staffing to offer more math classes. So, because right now with our trimester system, it is tight to get things into 12 weeks.
So Carrie, with this new approach and staffing limitations, that we only staff so many classes, if we have a kid who's exceptionally talented in math, are they going to be able to get calculus A, B, and C through us?
Mm-hmm.
How does that get delivered? Because we certainly don't have enough staff to dedicate
Do you want me to
that.
answer
Yeah,
that?
you can speak to this.
Yeah, so we still offer acceleration. So many students, we have multiple classes of Algebra 1 as 8th graders. And so those kids come into the high school on track for calculus. So we also have options with the trimester system where kids can take multiple, they could take their data, they can squeeze classes in because they have trimesters without math and accelerate that way. We also have a college algebra class which accelerates our Algebra 2 and pre-calculus and gives them college credit for that math 151, 152, and gets them to calculus. We actually have 3 different ways kids can get to calculus, and we have a robust calculus program here. So I don't think that is a problem at all here with this current system. Any questions about the adoption process, the fact that we're kind of postponing, slowing down, really taking to heart what our focus is? Carrie gave me 8 minutes. This was way more than 8 minutes, so I apologize, but hopefully that was beneficial to you in terms of catching you up to speed on kind of what the work we've been doing with mathematics and really that I do think we're headed in the right direction with adoption, but it will probably be a postpone for at least for elementary is, based on our timeline that we're sitting here in January and don't have, a good next steps, knowing the teachers want to pilot, but middle and high school, we're meeting with them here in the next. So Carrie will be able to report back on that in a few months, where we're at with that. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to move to 6.0 policy updates. At 6.1, we have JFCJ, weapons in schools by Anna.
This policy is presented for the second time. Last month, I brought it to you just as, so that you could start looking at it and thinking about it. And then tonight, I'm going to ask you to actually approve it if you feel that it's ready. I looked into the clarification questions that were brought forth by Mr. Holliday and Mr. Cooper last month. You were wondering if, what impact this first sentence, the change of the first sentence would have to Pal Butte. And I've checked with Melinda Thomas, our attorney, and we are both in agreement that this would have no change. Students would still not be allowed to bring, possess, conceal, or use a weapon at Pal Butte as the policy is written now, or if the policy changes. As I mentioned last month, everything in blue is OSBA suggested change, which I've read through everything and it all makes sense to me. But the major piece that we need to change is the highlighted yellow section where it's red strikeout on the second page where it says, and conducted on district property. The sentence that contains this allows courses, programs, and activities approved by the district to possess firearms, which we have currently our Clay Target League and our NJROTC that uses the air rifles. And they compete at different schools and different places. So in order for them to be compliant with policy, we would need to remove that phrase.
We need to keep it.
We would remove the phrase "and conducted on district property" because
I'm sorry, okay.
With it in there, it says they could only do all the things in this policy on district property. And I discovered this related to the topic I was speaking about earlier when I was looking at the Clay Target League and everything related to insurance policy, et cetera. And so that's when Melinda and I found this and realized this is problematic. We also, I do want to make sure I mention again, we made sure that striking this language would still be legal. And everything would still be fine. We made sure of that before we brought this to you for a recommendation.
I still don't understand how the school board can make a policy that applies to Pal Butte, which is not under the jurisdiction of the school board. But that doesn't stop me from moving forward with the policy because we can sort that out later. So I move to adopt policy JFCJ.
Nope, I'll second.
Did you second it? I did. Okay, thank you. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, just a point of order. The
Yes.
policy requires us to adopt a policy on first read unanimously in order to avoid a second read. Because Chair Brumble is not here, we can't act unanimously. Unanimously means all five. And so we'll have to bring this back next month.
This policy was brought forward last month. Was that?
Did we vote on it?
No.
No,
It was
this
just
is our
brought
first
forward.
vote. This is the first vote. So you got to have a first vote unanimous in order to avoid the second vote.
Okay, so first reading means first vote.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so can you make a note of that, Tammy? Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Right. Need Okay. Hannah for finance.
Okay, finance report. I just have a couple little things to mention on the finance report. It doesn't really change a ton from month to month, but I do want to note on page 3, this is always the page where I focus the most in my reports to you. The property tax revenue is projected to come in about 4% over budget. And so what that does is it reduces the state school fund. So my projection for the state school fund would be that it would be over budget, except when the property tax revenue comes in higher, it reduces the state school fund. So in the end, it's still more money over budget. It's all good, but just kind of know that that's what's going on with that. Did anybody have any questions on the finance report? Would you like me to move on to 7.2? Okay. 7.2 is budget committee appointments. The board previously declared 2 budget committee positions as vacant. They were position number 7 and number 8. I do want to note that some past years we have not been able to fill all of our budget committee open positions. So I feel very fortunate that tonight you have 3 applications to choose from to fill 2 positions. Those applications are attached to your 7.2 handout. And so the board will just need to discuss and choose which applicants should fill which positions. Would you like me to give a little more information?
What position is Wade Flegel currently in?
I can have that answer in less than 2 minutes.
Position.
Yeah, is he 7 or 8?
Wade Flegel was in position 7 that expired on June 30th, 2023.
So, Madam Chair, I'm going to explain my motion before I offer it, and then you can feel free to reject it or amend it. But I'm going to suggest or point out that Linda Pepper had applied for the vacancy for your seat, was one of the candidates there, and now has applied to be on the Superintendent Search Committee. She's one of the names we looked at earlier. She clearly has been putting her name in, looking for a role. Wade has been the Budget Committee Chairman for several years, has good experience with it. Tori's great. I like Tori. She's been very helpful to the district, but we can only pick 2. My proposal would be that I would move that we appoint Wade Flegel to position number 7 and Linda Pepper to position number 8, with thanks to Tori Kurtz for applying. Because an idea.
I'd second that.
I would like to, I think Tori Kurtz would be amazing, and I also think Wade Flegel. Do we have to have a unanimous vote on this to have all 5 present, or can we?
No, it needs a majority.
I'd like to put forth Tori Kurtz.
Corey.
I already seconded his motion.
Well, it is, I love Linda, I love Tori, so it's 6 of one, half dozen of another to me. If that would be a preference for you, Cheyenne, I'd be perfectly happy either way. So I'd withdraw my motion, and then you can put forward a motion. If it's okay with the second.
Yeah, fine.
So I would motion for Tori Kurtz and Wade Flegel.
Second.
All right, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Hang on, does that
Wait.
motion need to have specified positions?
It probably should. You want to
Specified
put Wade in
positions.
7 and
Wade is
Tori in
number
8?
7.
Wade in position 7 and Tori Kurtz in position 8.
Thank you, Steve. Do we still second it, Scott? All right. All in favor of Wade in position 7 and Tori in position 8, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, thank you. Anna?
Okay, this is the PERS update. Most exciting section of the evening. I'm giving you an update on the potential for the PERS rates to increase. So I want to give you a little bit of an overview of how PERS rates are set. And PERS rates are a payroll, it's almost like a payroll tax that is assessed based on salaries and wages that are paid out to employees. The district has to pay a percentage of the salaries and wages to the PERS system, and PERS sets the rate, the percentage rate that the district has to pay. And they set those rates every 2 years. The next time those rates will change is in July of 2025. So we're right in the middle of the 2-year cycle. So what PERS does is every year they release a report, and in like this year, they released a report that's just telling us, if we were using the information we have right now, here's what your rates would be. And then the second year, they say, okay, here's what your rates are going to be. Right now, we have a report that tells us, hypothetically, what the rates would be based on the information that they have right now. It was based on calendar year 2022. It takes them almost a whole year to analyze all the data, and then in December 2023, they came out with this report. That's the very last page in your packet. It's down at the bottom. So you can see on this report, our current rates is the box at the top, and the way you can look at this is there's 3 columns. You can ignore the police and fire column. But the Tier 1, Tier 2 is a group of employees who were hired before 2003. OPSERP General Service is employees who were hired after that. So if you look all the way down at the bottom of that box, it says the Tier 1, Tier 2 rate is currently 8.25%, and the OPSERP rate is 5.41%. Our rates are very low. If you look up in that box about 4 rows down where it says side account rate relief, you'll see that we get almost a 20% credit. And that's because years ago, long before my time, there was some PERS bonds that were issued and set in a side account that earns interest. And so our district gets this huge rate reduction because of that. So it's really been beneficial. It saved us at least $10 million. And that was as of like 3 years ago, accumulated numbers. So anyway, those are our numbers right now. If PERS were to set our rates for the next biennium based on what happened in 2022, those rates would go, for Tier 1, Tier 2, they would go from 8.25% to 14.89%. That's potentially, if that was real, that would be probably the biggest jump I've ever seen. OPSERP would go from 5.41% to 11.42%. That's just so high, and so it's really concerning. That's if we were to take those numbers and multiply it by our current payroll, that's an increase of $1.6 million per year, not including if we were to have step increases, COLAs, et cetera. That's just based on the current payroll. So we'll have to plan for that. But again, these aren't the real rates. What happened in 2022 is the earnings in the whole PERS system, the investment earnings, were negative. In 2023, they were not negative. They have not, last I checked, they had not posted the final rates yet, but they weren't as bad as 2022. So I'm thinking what will end up happening is our rates will not go up this much, but they are going to go up. So we'll just have to plan accordingly for that. And we plan. We have a PERS reserve that's could help with some of that. And we've been conservative, and we've, This is something that seems to always happen, is PERS rates almost always go up. So just wanting to let you know, as we go into budgeting and long-term planning, the more staff you add, the more long-term PERS impact there is. So please don't be scared. I'm going to figure it out, but just be aware.
I do have a question. Go ahead. Multnomah Fire District number 10. We're on
Can
key
you
tonight.
can you say that question again?
Multnomah Fire District number 10, that we're on the hook for that?
Yeah, why are we suddenly paying their
0.08%. I know it's only 0.08%, but it's still on there that it's affecting us. Bottom section, third one down.
The highlighted one.
I hadn't actually noticed that. That's interesting. I'll have to look into
And
that.
it's not in the upper
That's
box.
new,
So
yeah.
it's something new.
That's interesting. Yep, I will definitely be looking
I'd
into
like
that.
a report back on that. I'd love to know what they're up to.
I can't hear you. Any questions on that? I always like to give the board this information when it comes to my inbox.
What's the date when these will be finalized?
They will finalize them in December of 2024, so 11 months. So it'll be the 24-25 budget year that will have the first impact.
And so what would change that is a massive run-up in the stock market and bigger returns that would reduce the overall cost of it, right?
Which didn't happen. It
Or
would have had
some-
to have happened in 2023.
So what could change this trajectory between now and December?
PERS uses a lot of assumptions, and some of those assumptions are salary increases. And some of that is actually what impacted this because of some recent negotiations that occurred that were very high.
Are you trying to say public Portland schools and not say it?
Trying to be diplomatic.
Thank you, Anna. Any other questions for Anna on the finance report? Okay. We've already done public comments. We move that back to 2.1. So 9.0, upcoming dates. No school, Martin Luther King Day. School board work session, January 22nd. School board meeting, February 12th. And then no school for the directed staff, February 16th, and President's Day, February 19th. Anything else, board? Okay, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for coming.